Welcome everyone. Today we're diving into a mysterious and captivating story set by a seemingly idyllic lake. Picture yourself on vacation in a lakeside house with strange rules and a peaceful setting that hides unsettling secrets. This is exactly what our protagonist encounters in this adventure at Lake Serenity. Get ready to uncover disturbing events, intriguing puzzles, and an atmosphere of suspense that will keep you on the edge of your seat until the very end. Buckle up, because this journey into the unknown might just make you see lakes in a whole new light. Visit Lake Serenity. We checked out some Airbnbs in the area and found they were a lot cheaper than the other locations we were considering. So we packed up the car and were on our way to upstate New York. The Airbnb looked just like the photos, a cozy saltbox-style house on the lake, complete with a little dock for fishing. The view of the lake was spectacular from the huge picture windows in the family room, and the house was filled with cute little tchotchkes, like signs that read "beach this way," and a bottle filled with sea glass. We were thrilled with the place, patting ourselves on the back for planning such an awesome vacation. Until we saw the flyer. In the middle of the kitchen counter, we found a handwritten note from the owner welcoming us into her home. She also told us to check out the rules on the next page. Apparently, the community was pretty strict about conduct, and vacationers had been banned from the beach before. Curious, my wife and I flipped the page. Bold text across the top: read rules for Lake Serenity. A post-it had been stuck on for good measure, asking us to read all the rules carefully. I shrugged at my wife and began to read. Rule 1: boats are not allowed on the lake after dark. If you see a boat at night, or even just a light on the lake, please call the park ranger. His number is at the bottom of this page. Rule 2: there are many fish, crabs, and aquatic plants in the lake, so don't be alarmed if you feel something brush against your foot. However, if you feel anything trying to tug you down, call the lifeguards immediately. Rule 3: storms are uncommon at Lake Serenity. However, in the event of one, the storm siren will go off. You must immediately evacuate the beach and find shelter inside when the siren sounds. Do not get into a vehicle. Do not try to go anywhere. Just find the closest dwelling and stay inside, with all doors locked, until the storm passes. Rule 4: there is an area of the lake cordoned off at the far west corner. Swimming is prohibited there. If you see someone in that section of the lake crying for help, you must ignore them. Don't worry, the lifeguards have notified the park ranger, I assure you. Rule 5: speaking of lifeguards, there are only 5 lifeguards here at Lake Serenity. Their names and photos can be found on the next page. If you see anyone else claiming to be a lifeguard, please immediately call the park ranger's office. Rule 6: one of the reasons Lake Serenity is such a popular vacation destination is that it affords beautiful views of the mountains, the forest, and the sky. Sunsets are especially beautiful. However, if you ever see a reflection in the water that doesn't belong, for example, the reflection of a person that isn't actually there, leave the beach immediately. Rule 7: if you're out on a boat of any kind, including but not limited to kayaks, canoes, paddle boats, and small rowboats, be aware of a strange optical illusion that occurs roughly in the middle of the lake. If you row into this area, you will not be able to see the shoreline in any direction. If this happens, do not call for help. That will only attract unwanted attention. Instead, begin shouting "lost boat." One of the lifeguards will come out to you and guide you safely to shore. Do not try to navigate to shore by yourself. Rule 8: we have many turtles and fish that may poke their heads above the water. However, if you ever see anything that looks larger than a turtle, roughly larger than a foot wide, please notify the lifeguards and leave the beach. Rule 9: don't feed the ducks. Wow, I told my wife, Ruth. That's a lot of rules. I was immediately starting to regret our decision to come here, but she told me it wasn't weird. She told me private lake communities often have strict rules. The lake by her parents' house, for example, instructed people to empty their pockets of loose change before swimming. Apparently, the fish kept eating the dropped change, and it was causing problems. So I brushed it off and we began to plan our day. An hour later, we were driving down to the beach. Even though the house was lakefront, swimming was only allowed at a designated beach. In addition to the list of rules, there was a sign that read "No swimming in our backyard," tilted askew. Olivia and Noah ran down to the water immediately. Ruth and I followed, setting up several yards from the water. Ruth sat under the umbrella and pulled out a book. "I'm going to swim," I told her. "You sure you don't want to come with me?" She shook her head. So I made my way out into the water. To be honest, I've never been that fond of lakes. There's something off-putting about the greenish-brown color, basically the color of the muck at the bottom. Whenever I swim out past where I can stand, all I can think about are snapping turtles swimming underneath me, along with huge fish and water snakes, and long, mushy fingers of seaweed reaching up towards my toes. This vacation was for the kids, not for me. The water was cold. As soon as I stepped in, it was like little needles pricking my skin. It didn't seem to bother the kids, though Olivia and Noah were already floating on pool noodles near the rope, arguing about how to mine diamonds in Minecraft. I slowly waded out, further and further. The water got thicker, muddier. I couldn't see my feet at the bottom. The sun beat down on my face, hot and scorching. I closed my eyes, held my breath, and dove underwater. Immediately, all sound cut off. All the laughter, splashing, and arguing, it suddenly dropped to a distant echo. It seemed quieter underwater than it should be. Like the water itself was absorbing most of the sound. I opened my eyes underwater, but all I could see was greenish-brown water. I surfaced. Noise exploded into existence. The water dripping down my face turned ice cold. I looked around to see Olivia and Noah, still arguing near the rope, floating on their pool noodles. I dove back under. The sound cut off again. Distant echoes of voices. Slight vibrations of people splashing and swimming. Like simply going underwater had transported me into a different world. Except this time, in the quiet, I heard something else. Singing. The sound didn't have the same quality as the distant sounds of the swimmers. It didn't seem dulled or muffled by the water. In fact, it almost sounded like someone was humming underwater right next to me. I surfaced, rubbing the water out of my eyes. No one was there. Olivia and Noah were engaged in a splash fight now, several yards away from me. Ruth was still reading her book on the beach. All the other people were even further away. I was alone. Slowly, I tilted my head so one ear went underwater again. Sure enough, the singing returned. A slow, lilting melody. I frowned and pulled my ear out of the water. Then I jumped back. For a split second, I thought I saw something under the water. Something pale and white, just floating there next to me. But there was nothing there now, except murky brown water. "Whoa, Dad." "You okay?" Noah asked. Yeah, I finally tore my eyes from the water and looked at him. "Did the rules say anything about singing in the water?" "I don't know," he said, shrugging. "Ask Mom." I tilted my head and put my ear underwater again. This time, I didn't hear anything. It must have just been some kid humming underwater, and somehow it transmitted really well to sound like he or she was right next to me. And what I saw, the reflections must have just confused me, and my brain filled in the details. I made up some excuse about staying hydrated and convinced the kids to come out of the water with me for a few minutes. Then I sat next to Ruth under the umbrella. I heard this weird singing or humming underwater. "Do you remember if the rules said anything about that?" "I don't think so," she replied. "Why would the rules say anything about that?" "I don't know," I replied. I shook off the feeling, and soon after, the kids and I got back in the water. Ruth finally came in with us, and the four of us floated under the bright blue sky. After a while, the incident faded from my mind. It was so nice, so beautiful, so serene here. I could see why they called it Lake Serenity. We got home, ate dinner, and went to sleep early. As I got into bed, I noticed the house seemed a little too quiet. Like no noise was coming from the outside at all. I couldn't hear the waves or the distant laughter from the beach. It felt strangely still. But then again, maybe that's what happens when you're on vacation in a place like this. The night passed uneventfully. The next day, I woke up earlier than usual. I made breakfast for everyone and went out on the deck to enjoy the view of the lake. It was beautiful, as always, and I watched as a few boats puttered across the water. I noticed that the lake was a lot more populated than it had been the day before. Boats were all over the place, and I could even see a few people swimming by the rope. But that wasn't the only thing I noticed. I saw a small white boat out on the water, but it wasn't moving. It was just sitting there, bobbing up and down, about 100 yards from the shore. It was about the same size as the one I'd seen the previous night, and it seemed like someone was inside it, just sitting there. The boat was so far away I couldn't see who it was or what they were doing. But it was against the rules. No boating after dark. I picked up my phone and dialed the park ranger's number. The call went straight to voicemail. I tried again, but it was still voicemail. I kept dialing, trying different numbers for the ranger's office. No one answered. After a while, the boat began to move. It didn't move in a straight line or even in a regular pattern. It bobbed up and down in an erratic motion. My stomach sank. It was 2 p.m. The ranger's office was closed. I went back inside and waited for Ruth and the kids to wake up. When they did, I told them about the boat, but Ruth just shrugged. "It's probably nothing," she said. "Maybe it's just someone having fun on the water." If it was a big deal, I'm sure the ranger would have called us by now, so I tried to put it out of my mind. But it was hard. The boat's erratic motion and the fact that no one was answering the phone kept gnawing at me. That night, as I was falling asleep, I heard a strange noise outside. It sounded like someone was moving around, but I couldn't tell what it was. I got up and went to the window. The boat was back. It was bobbing up and down again, just like it had been that morning. But now, it was moving erratically, weaving back and forth. I was about to call the ranger's office again when I heard a loud splash. I jumped and looked out the window. The light was gone. I couldn't see anything but the dark water. My heart was racing, and I felt a chill run down my spine. I went downstairs and checked all the doors, making sure they were locked. Then I went back upstairs and tried to go to sleep. I tossed and turned all night, unable to shake the feeling that something was wrong. The next morning, I woke up feeling exhausted. Ruth and the kids were already up, getting ready for another day at the beach. I told Ruth about the boat and the splash, but she just looked at me with a mixture of concern and skepticism. "It's probably nothing," she said again. "We're on vacation. Try to relax," so I tried to do just that. We spent the day at the beach, and everything seemed normal. The water was clear, the sun was shining, and the kids were having a blast. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The boat was gone now, and the lake seemed calm and peaceful. But I kept glancing at the water, waiting for something to happen. The next few days were uneventful, but I continued to see strange things. I thought I saw a figure standing on the dock one day, but when I blinked, it was gone. Another time, I saw something moving under the water, but it disappeared when I looked again. It was driving me crazy. Ruth told me I was just being paranoid. The kids were having a great time, and she wanted me to enjoy the vacation too. So I tried to focus on that, but I felt like I was always on edge. The last night of our vacation, I was up late again, unable to sleep. I kept hearing strange noises outside, but every time I looked, there was nothing there. I felt like I was losing my mind. The next morning, we packed up and left. As we drove away from Lake Serenity, I glanced back one last time. The lake looked serene and peaceful, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still out there, watching us. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed the intriguing tale of Lake Serenity and the chilling mystery it holds. What do you think really happened that fateful night? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. We love hearing from you. If you enjoyed this story and want to see more captivating content, consider subscribing to W-broux for future updates. Don't forget to like and share this video to help others discover it. Your support makes all the difference and keeps us motivated to create more exciting content for you.